Hello everyone, Jules here. Today I'd like to talk about a topic that I think needs to be discussed because I have heard in the tarot community videos recently the word Ascension being mentioned, and I want to talk about what Ascension is and talk about that in connection with tarot. So I'm calling this video Tarot, Ascension and Shamanism. So first of all, for a lot of people watching who are wondering, what is Ascension? Ascension spirituality. Now, I have shown this book once before on my channel on a video about Ascension books. This is Ascension Magick by Christopher Penczak, and it is a great book. It's got so many different aspects of Ascension spirituality in this book. Ascension spirituality is basically and really energy work. So people who work with chakras and even Kabbalah, as I do, Kabbalah practice for me is an energy practice for me. That's just two examples. So it could give you the idea of the range of spiritual practices that this involves, and it can include a range of different practices. Now, before I got this book, I didn't realise that I was actually working with a type of Ascension spirituality. I knew it was a type of energy work, and by that I mean working on the inner self and raising the energy vibe. So Ascension is all about raising up your personal energy vibration, and you can do that within yourself, or you can do yoga or body work, and it's actually far more practical and more practical on the mind and body than what you would expect. A lot of people think Ascension Magick is about a universal energy and leaving the earth as it is and going into another dimension. They are really metaphors for what Ascension Magick really is. So I want to recommend this book for anyone who wants to find out more about Ascension spirituality and how you can apply this in your own life for your own self-development, and particularly on a psychological level. It's really good for applying ideas for self-empowerment. So this is Ascension Magick by Christopher Penczak. It was published in about 2007 by Llewellyn, and it's really thick. This will give you an idea of how many ideas are in this book. It's just great. And it should be in print, or you would get this on Amazon, but it is probably, I think, one of the best books that Christopher Penczak has written. And he is known mainly as a pagan writer, so this will give you an idea that there is a lot more to Ascension spirituality than what you think. So that's a great book. Now I'm going to talk about Ascension in regard to tarot and astrology, and how this all ties in with shamanism. So first of all, I want to talk about the card of the major arcana that really represents the time that we are in and how this ties in with the idea of ascension and the new age. Now, this has everything to do with the judgment card, because the judgment card is to do with rebirth. A lot of people think this is to do with the last judgment, and ascension ideas do have a lot in common with the book of the New Testament in the Bible, that is to do with the book of Revelation, prophecies, and it's also known as the book of the Apocalypse. But the Golden Dawn saw this as rebirth and awakening. And the astrological association from the Golden Dawn is the planet Pluto, and Pluto is particularly about rebirth. So it is the rebirth of the self, of the inner self, and of society, of the world around us. And the original ideas in the book of Revelation talk about a new heaven and a new earth. And a lot of Christian people at the time, or in the last 100 years or so, thought that was to do with the end of the world and the world being destroyed. And a lot of biblical scholars since then have realised it's got more to do with a renewal of the earth and of the universe and of ourselves in society. So it's really a rebirth and a renewal, so that the earth is as new rather than the end of the world type of thing. And I'm just going to compare this card with the Crowley judgment card. So here you have the kind of biblical scene of the angel waking people from their tombs on the last day. And here is the card from the Thoth deck, Crowley Thoth. And I will just show that separately for a moment. It's called the Aeon, and that means era. And Crowley saw this as the new age of Horus that was coming into being. And Horus is the divine child, Egyptian god of Isis or Osset and Osiris. And I actually prefer this card being known in this way and referred to as the Aeon, as the new era or new age. A lot of people don't realise that the whole idea of the new age has been around for a long time, particularly since the 1920s era. It comes from the term that was created by Dion Fortune, who was one of the few female members of the Golden Dawn, and she predicted that there was a new age of spirituality coming that would not be as religion based, but it was going to be the spirituality of the self, and it's going to be self-created. And Dion Fortune belonged to the order that was the direct offshoot of the Golden Dawn, called Stella Magitina. So this is how the idea of the Aeon or the new age actually came from. And then the idea of ascension spirituality actually started around the same time by a range of different people, and that is in that book that I just showed. So the Ascension Magick thing has been, or Ascension spirituality has been for around 100 years now. And a lot of people think, oh wow, this is really new. Well, you know, it's been around for 100 years, but a lot of people are only just starting to become more aware of it. And I think it's, you know, it's a very fitting time for people to start to think about the times that we are in and the type of change that we are experiencing. So that's the Aeon card. And I'm also going to show another couple of judgment cards as well that I particularly like. This is from the Mary L. Tarot, and you have got the beautiful red phoenix bird rising from the ashes, and that really represents the rebirth of Pluto. Pluto is an energy that is bringing in this period of rebirth, and it takes a number of years. It's not something that can happen all that quickly. So there is the judgment card from the Mary L. Tarot. I haven't got too much glare on that. And the other one I particularly like is this judgment card from the Universal Tarot. I'll show you the box in a moment. I really like this card too. I love the way that the reborn people are looking up at the angel. So it does represent rebirth and waking up to a new life. And here is the box that I got this from. This has just been republished. This is the large size, and it's just been republished recently. Universal Tarot, published by Lo Scarabeo a number of years ago, but it's republished in this size now. That's the front of the box. For people who are interested. Now I'm going to talk a bit more about the astrology of this period too. Now, to just explain this a little bit more, I have talked on some of my astrology videos before about what is known as the precession of the equinoxes. That happens every 2,000 years, roughly. It's about 2,160 to be precise, but this is when the planet, the Earth, goes from a very long period in one sign and it goes into another sign. And we are in a period of transition at the moment as this happens, as this is happening. Now, it's like a time funnel effect. And I've got a funnel here to sort of show you what I mean by this. This is the universe with the idea of celestial time. And we are in this kind of funnel stage. And this is why there is a feeling of great tension and great change and the building up of global events and the building up of inner pressure psychologically within a lot of people as well. So we're sort of about here, and there are different astrological views about this. But, for example, I'll put this down for a moment. For example, there are some people who think, and I partly agree with this, that from the Mayan perspective, 2012 was a turning point, and I do agree with that. I think that is the beginning of the transition energy. And there are other astrologers who are saying, oh, well, this is another 50 to 100 years away before we are completely in the new energy. And there is another group of astrologers who I also agree with, who are saying that we are inside a 3-year period that has particularly started like from last year, and we are not going to feel like we are further through this intense type of pressure energy. By that I mean the pressure of change, internal and external change going on within and without. And they are saying that that's not really going to ease until the end of 2021. And I really do agree with that. I do. So what is happening from that perspective is we are in the long-term period of Pisces for the last 2,000 years. And we are moving into the time of Aquarius. So you can see that they're quite different energies. The moon represents the sign of Pisces, and the star represents the energy of Aquarius. So you can see that they're quite different energies. And as some people might know, when I'm always talking about the astrology signs or planets with the tarot, I'm always referring to the Golden Dawn associations. So you can see that they're quite different energies. And the other period that we are in, we are in a really remarkable time, and I think a lot of people can sense this because we have got planets that are in their ruling signs. At the moment, we are in a kind of a mini period. When I say mini, this has already been happening for about 7 years. We're only halfway through this period. We've got about another 7 years to go with this. We're in a Capricorn period, and it is to do with authority and politics and feeling stuck and trapped in the system. And we're in that period as well, and that type of period is going to go eventually. When I talked about the end of 2021, that too is going to go from Capricorn into Aquarius, but that's the mini period. So to talk about what is also happening with this, you're talking about the Ascension and shamanism, how that comes into place. We have got the planet Neptune in its own sign of Pisces at the moment, and the Hanged Man represents Neptune. So this is a very shamanic card. So we are actually feeling like we are in a kind of a shamanic, spiritual and psychological crisis. A lot of people are feeling this. And this ties in with the Ascension idea too, because this halo of energy here is the inner self work, the energy work that the Hanged Man is actually doing and trying to achieve. And this is very much the energy that we are in. This is, as I said, Neptune in its own sign of Pisces. So the planets are really strong when they are in their own signs. And it's quite remarkable that we have got 3 different planets in their own ruling signs at the moment. So this is Neptune in Pisces. We have also got Saturn in its own sign of Capricorn. So that is very strong at the moment. And this is why we are getting a lot of world events and global events and change happening. And this is also a time of politics and accountability going on. The other planet that is in its own sign is Jupiter in Sagittarius, and I'm going to show the Thoth cards here, the Crowley Thoth. Jupiter is represented by the Wheel of Fortune here, or just called Fortune in the Thoth deck. And I love this card for Sagittarius, which he calls art, and by that he means alchemy. So this is great change. You can see by the fire with the red hawk or phoenix here, the mixture of fire and water for Scorpio, for the phoenix bird. These are the elements of fire and water that he connected with the sign of Sagittarius and alchemy. So Jupiter in its own sign is very strong as well, because it's in its own sign. So we have 3 planets that are in their own signs, and that does not happen very often. So we're in a time of important and momentous change. And the other thing I want to say about the Ascension spirituality is the Ascension spirituality is actually connected with the Magician card. And I think this is a great reminder for us to stay in our own power. The idea of Ascension spirituality is empowerment, and to actually work on the energy within and the wisdom within. I think there are some forms of Ascension spirituality where people are following rather than standing in their own power. But to get the most benefit from Ascension spirituality, you really do need to find out as much as you can, get plenty of information, and that book that I talked about is really good for that. The Magician card is ruled by Mercury, which has everything to do with the mind and self-development. So these 2 cards do go together as far as Ascension Magick and Ascension spirituality is concerned. It's self-development and working on your energy, not only your energy vibration, but working on changes from within so that your life can improve around you, and also to work on social and community issues so that you are actually helping to create a new earth. So these 2 cards really do go together. I think it's a really good reminder to get the full benefit of seeing your spiritual practice as a type of Ascension spirituality, if you want to. I have found that thinking of my spiritual path to include that has been quite beneficial and is being quite beneficial. You don't have to embrace all of the ideas, and the book I was talking about is really good in regard to that. It's actually presenting a whole range of different ideas and theories that come under the umbrella of Ascension spirituality. It's not just one way of doing it and one way of thinking. So I wanted to let everyone know about that. And the other thing I wanted to talk about too is one of the main reasons why we are in the type of crucible of change that we are in, and why we are feeling this, is to talk very, very briefly, in a way, about what is happening with the sign of Capricorn, and the way that Capricorn represents, which is the devil card, which represents the system and politics and structures. So you've got Saturn in its own sign here of Capricorn. But what is happening is the sign of Pluto is already there. Pluto is already here in Capricorn, and it has been for a number of years. And what is happening is Saturn is in Capricorn now and is starting to approach Pluto in Capricorn. So you have Saturn, Pluto in Capricorn. So this is really like a type of showdown, and it's like a build-up of pressure. So this has also got to do with the Ascension spirituality and outlook as well, because in order to make a new world and a new earth as we know it requires immense change and the breakdown of systems and structures that are already in place and have been for a very long time. And things are going to get quite intense before we get into the newer and better period of working towards making a better world and a better society. So I just wanted to talk about this because I think all of this does tie in with the astrological changes that we are in the middle of, and it really is a shamanic type of experience that quite a lot of us are experiencing, and we are feeling that. And I wanted to talk about the Ascension spirituality because there are some really good benefits and ideas and practices and methods that you can look into if you're interested, because I am finding some of the ideas to be, really beneficial and of great value. So I wanted to do this video to talk about this subject and talk about this in regard to tarot and astrology and how this relates to shamanism as well. So I hope that was a help to some of the viewers out there. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.